Skipjacks. Gary Sampson, the former Washington Capital, for the Whalers. They meet at center ice. They present arms, and the play is underway. At center zone on right wing, Bradshaw drove it in behind the Baltimore goal. Covering is Norm Schmidt. Schmidt in front of the goal. On right wing in his own line for Mathias, and at center for Magoo, darting in over the Binghamton line, poked it into the right corner. Delco was ridden off there by John Mokasek, covering behind the goal. Sampson along the left wing boards for Bruce, clearing up the boards. At center for Shaw. He's behind Schmidt. Shaw over the Baltimore line, left circle, right in front for Sampson. Oh, and he fanned on the shot. He did connect completely from the crease. Back on the Jacks, Jim Magoo streaking to center on right wing. Over the Binghamton line, left it in the circle for Dahlquist. Dahlquist swoops in behind the goal. He centered it right through the crease to the right point. Schmidt fired. DeMore the save. The rebound in front. And John Druce is there to control and sail it down ice. Charlesworth races back forward in front of Grant Martin. Now from the faceoff, behind the Binghamton goal, Kellen controls along the right wing boards for Jim Thompson. At his own line for Taylor, who came across. Now Mark Taylor on right wing at center, sidestep the checks of Bork and Stevens over the Baltimore line. Right in front for Thompson. That shot muffled by Bellin, who drifts it into Binghamton territory. Cavallini controls in front of Stevens, across on the right defense for Tony Kellen, leaving on the line for a circling Grant Martin to center. Now Martin from center ice. He just launches into the Baltimore left corner. On the scene to cover up is Charlesworth. Around the boards on right wing for Blaisdell, and the Jacks are away. Blaisdell, Rick Wanted left wing at center for Phil Bork. Charging after in the Binghamton left corner. The centering pass blocked by Kellen. Now Tony Kellen will start out in front of his own goal on left wing at his own line for Taylor, who wheels in the middle at center. Mark Taylor around Bellin over the Baltimore line. The centering pass, and Bellin hurried back and interrupted it. Now Bellin on left wing at center for Bork. Checked by Gardner, but trailing is Stevens to roll it into the Binghamton zone on the left wing boards. Control there by Mike Miller. Now Miller up the boards, left it there at his own line for Taylor on right wing. Mark Taylor, center circle for Vachorik, shooting! That was just wide of the short side. Rebound came up the backboards right in front. Terrian clear to the line. Vachorik controls right in front for Miller, snapping the shot. Oh, get it to save. The rebound to the right boards of John and Carl Mokasek for the Jacks drove it to center. Shaw returns it behind the Baltimore goal from the left wing. Mike Rowe controls up the left wing boards at center for Alain Lemieux. Over the Binghamton line on right wing for Mokasek. Right in front for Lemieux with a shot. Shaw deflects it into the corner. Digging it out there is Lemieux. Lemieux was checked by Gardner. Billy Gardner for the Whalers. In the middle at center for Shaw. At the Baltimore line for Miller. Back for Shaw on right wing. Shaw at the top of the circle. Center point for Gardner. Shooting blocked by Rowe. Comes back to Hoffman left point. Now Mike Hoffman along the boards. He was muscled by Lemieux. Contained center point by Gardner as he just wrapped it in behind the goal and heads for the bench. Binghamton changing. Michelle Terrian rounds the net. Terrian at his own line to center. Now Terrian on right wing. Backhands behind the Binghamton goal. Rounding the net with it is Tony Kellen. His clearing pass halted at center by Mokasek. On the left side for Scott Johnson. Back to his own line for Dahlquist, and back for Johnson on left wing at center. So now Scott Johnson wheeling through center circle. Drove it in behind the Binghamton goal. DeMore at the backboards. He roadblocks it for Kellen along the left side. At his own line for John Druce, shouldered by Schmidt, but he clears up the left boards at center for Sampson. He was crunched clamorously by Dahlquist. Loose at center zone. Tony Kellen on right wing floats it into the Baltimore right corner. Norm Schmidt is there to control, and Schmidt's clearing pass deflects. 2.40 for Gannett in 4 starts against Binghamton this season. And of course, he registered that 2-0 shutout a week ago Wednesday night, February 25th here at Baltimore. And that halted a Binghamton 7-game win scheme. Lemieux and Gaum on the faceoff. All ready to go. Sticks come down. Won by Gaum, top of the circle. Gardner, right point for Shaw. That shot right on. Oh, Gannett clutches that one to his chest on the Jacks crest. No further play. And that'll produce a face-off circle left of Steve Gannett, the Jacks goal. Tonight is Skipjacks Coaches Cap Night. 5,000 Skipjacks Coaches Caps being given away tonight by our good friends at United Products Distributors. In fact, Dave Washburn will join us in our second intermission tonight as our special guest. Face-off left of Gannett, Baltimore goal. Lemieux and Gaum will be the principals. No, they won't be. The count has been evicted. So it'll be Gary Risling and Dallas Gaum. All ready to go. Gaum is the third leading scorer in the league among rookies. Risling controls it left boards for Dahlquist. His clearing pass stolen at the line by Miller. Shooting! Chest high save by Cadet. Rebound corralled in front by Schmidt. On right wing at center from Okasek. Bursting into the Binghamton line. Okasek is in on goal at the doorstep for Risling, who was acting as the trailer, and he was sent sprawling into the backboards. 5 times on the road last season, second most in the league, and 2 years ago their 24 victories abroad established an all-time modern-day American League record. So it's just business as usual for them in that department. Now Mark Majork behind the goal, the Lake Superior State rookie, a teammate of the Skipjacks, Scott Johnson. In the middle at center for Gardner. He drove it in behind the Baltimore goal. Carl Mokasek around the left wing boards for Risling. It eludes him to center. Hurrying after it is Thompson. Thompson in front of Carl Mokasek. Now Thompson's pass seized left wing boards inside his own line by Risling. Risling jostled there along the boards by Thompson. They're bumping and grinding. Dug out in the corner by Carl Mokasek. Behind the goal for Lemieux. Back in the left corner for Risling. Wrapped up by Thompson with great authority. It squirms in behind the goal again. Covering up for Binghamton. Though on the defense was Paul Cavallini at center of the Baltimore line for Gardner. He's in on goal with a shot. And that was wide as Charlesworth went colliding with Gannett at the doorstep, and the Jacks are away at their own line. Elaine Lemieux to center. Over the Binghamton line and right wing for Carl Mokasek, storming in behind the goal. He centered it. That was blocked in front by Thompson. Now Jim Thompson of the right wing boards. At his own line, he leads for Gardner. Now Billy Gardner at center, spilled by Rose. He rolled it in front of the Baltimore goal. Covering up is Terrien. Michelle Terrien in front of Mike Miller, just sends it to center. Mark Taylor bursts it over the Baltimore line. Centered for Miller right in front. Checked by Rowe and cleared to the Binghamton zone by Bork. Controlled by John Mokasek on the left defense, and for Binghamton on the faceoff. From the draw, John Mokasek in front of the goal. The cross on the right defense for Kellen. At his own line for Martin. He was jolted by Rowe, but feeding ahead for Mark Taylor on left wing. Shy of the Baltimore line. He drove it off the backboards. Comes up the left boards for Bork. Gets center for Teven. Storming into the Binghamton line from the left circle. Shooting. And Teven's shot was just wide. Rebound to the Binghamton left boards for Mark Taylor. In the middle at center for Tony Kellen over the Baltimore line. Left wing boards for Martin. Centering in front. Back for Kellen. Checked by Tevens. Puck into the Baltimore corner. Mark Tevens is on the scene there. Dragging it behind the goal for Terrien. Deep in the right corner for Blaisdell. Checked by the Whalers. Taylor, and Cavallini's shot from the left point was wide to the short side. Digging it out behind the goal is Bork. Crunched at the backboards. It's centered right in front. Martin shot. He waffled it wide. Jack's in trouble here. Finally, Mark Tevens collects it at his own line. At center for Bork, and it's over 2 lines. No further play. Much to the consternation of this large Skipjack crowd. A break in the action, 13-20. It's terrible. Oh. Yep. As we return, Binghamton has scored. Paul Cavallini on a screen shot for the left point. Steve Gannett never saw it until it bulged. They turned over the puck, and Cavallini from the left point just launched the screen shot. Cavallini's 12th unassisted at 6:54. That is a negative omen for the Jacks. They've won only 8 times in 32 games that the opponents have scored the game's opening goal. From the faceoff, Todd Charlesworth at center across from Mathias over the Binghamton line on right wing. Shooting right on. Dumore the save. Rebound for Drews. Cracked down in the corner by Mathias and seized by Johnson. Right in front for Mathias, and checked at the last instant by Kellen. But Mathias controls it, going all the way across to the left boards. And when he tried to slend it across to the right point for Bellin, it came outside the line. Controlled at center zone by the Whalers. Now John Mokasek all the way into his own zone. In front of the goal for Kellen. Tony Kellen sheds the check of Magoo. From center circle, he shoots right on. The stick save for Gannett. Rebound behind the goal, Scott Johnson. Left it there for Magoo. Now Jim Magoo will start out in front of his own goal. On left wing at center for Johnson. Back to his own line for Charlesworth trailing. Todd Charlesworth on right wing. Wrapped it off the boards behind the Binghamton goal. Bradshaw took control of it there. Shaw evades the check of Magoo right in front of the goal. Now Bradshaw at his own line. Wheels in the middle at center. Drifting it in behind the Skipjack goal. Carl Mokosak drops back for it but overskated it. Covering the carom though in the right circle off the backboards as Dahlquist to send it to center circle. From there, Bradshaw rifled it right back behind the Baltimore goal. Dahlquist controls again. On right wing at his own line for Carl Mokosak. Now Mokosak at center, drove it inside the Binghamton zone, halted on the right defense by Shaw. Across on the left side for Cavallini, up the boards at center for Mike Hoffman, chasing it down in the Baltimore corner with a centering pass, all the way through to the right boards for Thompson. Thompson drove it back behind the goal, chased down in the right corner by Dahlquist. Now Chris Dahlquist cleared it past Cavallini at the left point, all the way down ice. Vachorik chased him behind the goal by Lemieux. Now Mark Vachorik at his own line for Gardner, off his stick to center. Then Mike Rowe turned it over to Thompson, who steers it into the Baltimore zone. Schmidt came across to cut off Gardner at the pass, and Norm Schmidt will start out at his own line to center. Schmidt hits the Binghamton line into the right circle. He centered it right through the crease. Risling was spun around by Vachorik, and back comes Binghamton. Mike Miller at his own line, twisting and turning his way through center at the Baltimore line for Billy Gardner, but Mark Taylor was offside on right wing. Terry Ficcarelli rejoining you live from the Baltimore Arena. And as we return, boy, we're missing a lot of action tonight. Every time we're gone. This time, Mark Keevan, I think, has been struck, creased with a flying puck at the Baltimore line, and he just came crumbling down right at the. There's Paul Cavallini's 12th unassisted on a screen point shot at 6:54 when the Jacks turned it over deep in their own territory. From the faceoff, the Binghamton line, Shaw. Across on the left defense for Mokosak and back the other way for Bradshaw. Shaw just drove it aimlessly to an open wing. Tracked down in front of the Baltimore goal by Therrien. Now Michel Therrien's pass halted at the line by Miller, who stepped from the shadows. Mike Miller to the right boards for Grant Martin. Backhanding right on goal. Gannett the save. The rebound left point. John Mokosak fired. Therrien deflects it all the way through to the right boards. Mike Miller is there. Behind the goal for Martin. Back into the right corner for Taylor. Binghamton continues to mount pressure in the right circle for Miller. Jammed off his stick by Rowe, who rocked Taylor. Back on the Jacks, plays down the center, wrapping into the Binghamton line, right in front for Magoo at the crease. And that was halted by Sean, a rising snow shower. Captured at the Binghamton line by John Mokosak. At center, he shoots, and that was wide. Rebound comes out the Baltimore backboards on right wing for Mickey Vulcan, his first shift of the night. Vulcan from center steers in front of the Binghamton goal. Covering on the defense is Vachorik at his own line. For Brits at center for Gary Sampson over the Baltimore line around Dahlquist. He swoops in behind the goal, and Vulcan came across and forced him wide. We have a fight to the side of the goal. The Jacks, John Delcole, and Binghamton's Greg Brits, as the two have discarded their sticks and gloves. Delcole has his right arm free, but he's not administering punishment. It is a wrestling spectacle at the moment. They all fall down. John Delcole, the Jacks, Greg Brits of Binghamton, and the two linesmen, Gary Madsen and Randy Whistler. They all fall down to the left side of the Baltimore goal crease. 10:37, the time of our first fistic incident of the night. It really resorted more to a grappling exhibition. Face-off left of Gannett, Baltimore goal. Lemieux with those 21 points in a Gretzky-like fashion in the last 6 games on 11 goals and 10 assists in the face-off against Dallas Gaunt. Won by Lemieux convincingly behind the goal for Dahlquist. Now Dahlquist right in front of the goal, nearly turned it over to Drews, who really dropped him in his tracks, but as Dahlquist was falling, he drove it into the Binghamton zone. Controlled in front of the goal. Oh, Lemieux nearly stole it from Dallas Gaunt as that puck was kangarooing in front, and Lemieux whacked it wide. Back comes Binghamton. Drews on left wing at center, crossing the Baltimore line, wheeling across to the right wing board, shooting. Gannett stick to the side, short side. Puck along the circle, into the crease. Vulcan clear to the line. Kellen contains left point. Now Tony Kellen's pass knocked away by Lemieux to center with Risling over the Binghamton line. Right in front for Risling. He shoots and scores! Gary Risling, the Jacks have tied at 1-1. Alain Lemieux, 15th goal of the campaign from Alain Lemieux. For Risling, his first goal in 8 games against Binghamton this season. Risling from Lemieux and Mickey Vulcan at 11-18. Now from the faceoff, we're tied at 1. Charlesworth at center, on left wing for Johnson at the Binghamton line. That was interrupted by Jim Thompson and cleared to the Baltimore line by Shaw. Controlled on the left side by Charlesworth. He drove it inside the Binghamton line. Cavallini controls across on the right defense for Shaw, still inside the line. Back the other way for Cavallini, up the boards at center for Hoffman. Oh, Charlesworth stepped in along the boards. He disrupted it for Mathiasen at the Binghamton line. Knocked away by Cavallini at center for Gardner. Stepping into the Baltimore line, checked from behind by Magoo. Controlled at the line by Rowe. Mike Rowe at center. He drove it in behind the Binghamton goal. Digging in after for the Jacks is Johnson, but he was beaten to it by Tony Kellen. Whistle sounding, and the Skipjacks are charged for ice season. He, of course, is a perennial all-star. But Neil Bellin departs. It appears that he was clutching his left arm or shoulder and will await a report. From the face-off, puck behind the Baltimore goal. Collecting it is Schmidt, directing it to the right boards for Blaisdell. He just steers to center zone. For John Mokazek on left wing, flutters it right back behind the Jacks goal, covering as Shaw. Action halted. I believe while that puck was in flight, it was batted with a stick raised above the shoulder by one of the Skipjacks. So that'll produce a face-off circle right of Gannett. Jacks goal, 7:35 remaining for first period action, though the Jacks have been outshot 9-3. They have deadlocked at 1-1 on Gary Risling's 15th from Alain Lemieux and Mickey Vulcan at 11-18. That is Lemieux's 10th point in less than 3 games thus far this week. A 5-point game, a 4-point game, and already 1 point tonight. From the faceoff, John Mokazek at the left point. The screen backhander was wide as Martin was wrapped up in front by Schmidt. That comes back to Mokazek at the left point with another screen shot. That was wide to the short side. Rebound to the right point. Kellen fired. Gannett the save, and he'll place his paw on the in this period. Stevens and Martin on the faceoff circle left of Gannett. 7:19 for the first period. It's a 1-all tie. One by Martin to the right point. Kellen fired. Gannett the save. Rebound behind the goal. Stevens to control, and he's underway. Mark Stevens on right wing at center for Blaisdell. He drove it out the Binghamton backboard. Charging after the Carroll left corner is Borg. Thundering in behind the goal, leaving it for Stevens trailing. He tried to slip it in front for Blaisdell. It didn't make it there. Kellen broke it up, but Kellen is shouldered into the corner by Blaisdell, who steals. Blaisdell right in front for Stevens, and he was bodied by Kellen. Controlled along the left wing boards by Mark Taylor. His pass halted at the line by Bork. Bork drove it back into the corner. Covering is Kellen. Clearing to the center point. Oh, Bork blocked it and fired, and John Mokazek deflects it into the corner where Stevens fired it through the crease all the way to the right point. Vulcan failed to hold it in. Taylor sent it to the Baltimore line. Dahlquist comes across the control, sending it to center. Mike Miller is right back in over the Baltimore line. Right circle for Taylor. Mark Taylor swoops in behind the goal, rolling it in front, and Stevens was there. Now Mark Stevens on left wing at center for Bork. Bork drove it in behind the Binghamton goal. Chugging in after it is Mickey Vulcan to the side of the goal. Spun around by Cavallini. Back on the Whalers. Paul Cavallini in the middle at center for Sampson. Stripped to the puck by Lemieux. Seized at the Baltimore line by Rowe. Now Rowe up on left wing at center for Gary Risling. Pass Shaw over the Binghamton line. But rushing across the sweep it away from Risling and cut him off was Cavallini. Now Cavallini to center for Sampson over the Baltimore line. He left it on right wing for Drews. Charging past the sprawling Todd Charlesworth behind the goal. Drews centered in front. Deflected away by Rowe and fired into the Binghamton zone by Charlesworth. Captured in front of the goal by Shaw in front of the Jacks. Karl Mokazek, who chases him in behind the goal. Now Shaw leading along on right wing at center for Jim Thompson along the boards. He's jammed by Rowe, steals. Rowe steps in over the Binghamton line and lost control on the boards to Kellen. It's Shaw, and Shaw to sweep it down ice. Charlesworth on the board. Binghamton goal. It's a 1-all tie, though Binghamton has outshot the Jacks 11-3. Alain Lemieux and Dallas Gaume on the face-off. Lots of Skipjacks caps being worn tonight at Skipjack Cap Night. Now Lemieux won the face-off. He nudged it to the right point for Charlesworth, who drove it into the corner. Vachorik was there. Around the boards on right wing for Hoffman. Now Mike Hoffman up on right wing at center for Gaume. Darting in over the Baltimore line, leaving it for Kellen, who tried to poke it through past Charlesworth in front to Gaume. And Charlesworth was there to steal. And his breakaway pass for Alain Lemieux, who had penetrated behind the defense, is offside just outside the Binghamton line. The pass traveling 2 lines. No further play. 4:56 remaining first period. It's a 1-1 tie. Cavallini's 12th unassisted at 6:54. Whalers on top 1-0. But 4.5 minutes after that at 11:18, Gary Risling struck his 15th from Lemieux and Vulcan. But the Jacks lost Neil Bellin with an apparent injury, an undisclosed one. It appeared to be to his left arm or shoulder at the 12-12 mark of this period. And since that time, John Delcole has left the penalty box to receive medical attention as well. As we mentioned, he was flexing his right hand when he entered the penalty box after his fight with Greg Britz. From the faceoff, Dwight Mathiasen on right wing at center, drove it off the Binghamton backboards. Covering the carom on the right side is Shaw. Shaw's pass knocked down at the line by Bork, but Phil Bork on the left side had his stick raised. Baltimore Arena. Almost lending itself to a carnival-like atmosphere, and we have an excellent crowd tonight. Saturday night hockey in Baltimore. From the face-off, in front of the Binghamton goal, collected on the defense by Cavallini, across on the right side for Shaw. Bradshaw at his own line, nearly coughed it up to Stevens. He had to reach back for it at the last instant and drove it to the Baltimore line. Now Terrian turned it over there to Miller. Miller fired. Schmidt was in the way to deflect it to the right boards where Blaisdell controls and clears ahead. At center for Magoo. At the Binghamton line for Stevens. Right circle for Blaisdell. Right in front for Stevens. Shoots and scores! Mark Stevens, Jacks lead 2-1. Top rocket. Stevens 13th, his 9th at home. Mike Blaisdell the assist, along with Jim Magoo on the 3-man break at 15:42. The Jacks 2 goals in 4 minutes and 24 seconds to take the lead, 2-1. Now from the faceoff, Billy Gardner his own line at center, evading the check of Stevens, but he lost control at the Baltimore line. Michelle Terrian on the left defense, firing down ice. Jim Magoo races after him, but John Mokosak's 2 goals in 4:24. They've only had 4 shots the whole period. Stevens 13th from Mike Blaisdell and Jim Magoo at 15:42. Magoo now has 6 assists in his last 5 games. From the faceoff, puck in behind the goal. Gannett surrounded by Britz and Hoffman, but Hoffman is rubbed out robustly by Dahlquist at the backboards, and the Jacks are away. Jim Magoo at his own line at center circle. He drove it off the Binghamton backboards, and back to reach it is Billy Gardner, and the Jacks are called for icing. Oh my. Oh my. I don't know about that one. I'm not exact. On the faceoff circle left of Gannett, a late change from the Skipjacks bench. And Coach Gino Briaco will be disallowed. I think he wanted Mathiasen on for this faceoff instead of Magoo. It'll be Scott Johnson in the faceoff with Sampson. Johnson controlled it behind the goal for Dahlquist. Now the Jacks captain just wrapped it off the right wing boards all the way to the goaltender Demure. Demure steers in behind the goal for Vachorik. In pursuit is Scott Johnson. Now Vachorik up on left wing at center for Drews. John Drews penetrates over the Baltimore line. He rolled it across into the left corner. Bork hurries it after it. Now Phil Bork rounds the net. Up the middle at his own line for Johnson on right wing at center for Magoo. He was skated off by Cavallini. Control by Gary Sampson. Sampson in the middle at center, shouldered rather lustily by Bork. Controlled inside the line by Dahlquist. Across on the right defense for Vulcan. On left wing for Bork at the Binghamton line with a high drive. And it was deflected over the glass into the crowd. But that story will be so terribly exaggerated, it will become one of the all-time greats in Havre de Grace. And we want to say hi to all our listeners in Havre de Grace tuned in tonight on our Skipjacks radio network. From the faceoff, puck along the Binghamton left wing boards. Taylor jammed by Johnson, seized in the corner by Mathiasen, promptly wrapped up though by Shaw. Covering behind the goal is Grant Martin, and Binghamton will start out. Martin at his own line, at center, over the Baltimore line. Along the right wing boards for Miller, streaking behind the goal, centering it. Knocked away by Charlesworth. There's a Jacks penalty coming up. Contained on the right point by Kellen. Tony Kellen sent it in behind the goal and is rolled. Face-off left of Gannett. Jacks goal road, 2 minutes slashing, 17:46. This is Binghamton's first power play. In fact, the first power play for either team tonight. From the face-off, the puck wiggled and wobbled right into the crease, and Steve Gannett himself fired it down ice. Controlled the Binghamton line by Martin up the left boards at center, trapping Schmidt for Thompson over the Baltimore line. Dahlquist came across and crunched him clamorously, but it's contained on the left point by a trailing Bradshaw with a shot. That was wide. Rebound to the right boards for Martin. Right point for Cavallini with a shot, and that was wide to the short side. Miller has the rebound behind the goal. Into the corner, undressed to the puck by Schmidt, who clears to the line. But Shaw contains left point along the boards for Martin. Back for Shaw, back for Martin in the left circle. Back for Shaw at the left point with the shot. Deflected over top of the net by Tevens. It caroms along the right wing boards, dug out in the corner by Thompson. Behind the goal for Martin. Martin to the left point for Shaw, and he couldn't reach that, and he eludes him all the way down ice. 1:02 for the power play. Shaw in front of the goal and in front of Mark Tevens. At his own line for Cavallini. Rink-wadded left wing at center for Shaw, reaching the Baltimore line. He was eased into the boards by Schmidt, but offside. 12 mark with 7:48 remaining in this period. It's 2-1 Skipjacks. They once trailed 1-0. Risling and Tevens connecting, though, to capture the lead. Now, Paul Cavallini on right wing at center, lashed it in behind the Baltimore goal. Digging in after behind the goal is Gaume, and Michel Therrien on the takedown. And Therrien and Gaume both sprawled on the puck behind the net. No further play. And that will produce a face-off deep in Jacks territory with under a minute for the period, 55 seconds to be exact, and still 41 seconds for the Mike Rowe penalty. And the face-off will originate circle right of Gannett, Jacks goal. Jacks have been outshot 10-4 in this first period, but they're on top 2-1. They erased a 1-0 deficit in the process. Alain Lemieux for the Jacks, Dallas Gaume for Binghamton on the face-off. Don't forget the Jacks will be in Hershey tomorrow afternoon. At airtime right here on the Skipjacks Hockey Network will be 2:45. Lemieux won it from Gaume. Corralled behind the goal by Michel Therrien. Therrien drove it to the line. Cavallini contains right point. Across left circle for Gaume. He tried to center one to the doorstep for Taylor. Didn't make it through. Lemieux interrupted that. It's controlled on the left boards by Mark Taylor. In the circle for Gardner. Stripped off his stick by Lemieux. And Alain Lemieux spins and sweeps it down ice beautifully. Covering in front of the goal for Binghamton is Cavallini. Straight ahead at center for Gardner. At the Baltimore line along the right wing boards for Tony Kellen. Cruising into the corner. Kellen slams on the brakes, bolting in front. He lost control. Gannett swept it away, but it's loose in front. Gaume's backhander right on. Oh, and Gannett makes the Lemieux probably a couple of times. Lemieux and Sampson on the face-off. All ready to go. They draw for it. Won by Sampson, top of the circle, trying to force it through in front was Hoffman. That was halted by Schmidt, who clears it outside the line, and John Mokasak on the left side just hoisted it to the Baltimore Arena heavens. No further play. 2 seconds left in the period. Face-off purely academic outside the Baltimore line. Lemieux and Sampson right below us on the Jacks right wing. All ready to go. The puck is dropped. The horn will sound, and first period action is completed. The Skipjacks surmount an early point of fourth place Nova Scotia in the Northern Division by virtue of their 5-4 clipping of the Red Wings of Adirondack today in Maine. From the face-off inside the Jacks line. Mickey Vulcan controls along the boards, jammed by Drews, but Vulcan rode him off in the corner. Covering behind the goal is Johnson along the left wing boards for Dahlquist. Chris Dahlquist at his own line, lugging it to center. He drove it in behind the Binghamton goal. The netminder DeMoore covered the carom. He poked it into the corner, past Mathiasen for Drews. Drews behind the goal for Paul Cavallini. Cavallini right in front of the goal. The pass stolen by Bork, who fired through a screen, and that was wide. Rebound right corner for Johnson. Now Scott Johnson back to the right point for Vulcan. Ah, shot! shot. Oh, that one deflected off of Gary Sampson wide of the goal. And Sampson only once in their last 7 outings. Adirondacks inched within 3 points of first place Moncton. That's developed into a real dogfight in the Northern Division. For that championship, Adirondack is the defender of the crown. All ready to go, Stevens and Taylor on the faceoff. After Grant Martin was expelled. Won by Stevens to the right point. Schmidt shoots. That's wide. Rebound to the left point. Therrien barging into the corner. He sailed it through the crease all the way across to the right wing boards for Schmidt with a shot. Kicked up by Demore with Stevens screening. Dug out behind the goal by Magoo. Rolling it in front, and Miller was there. Now Miller for Binghamton in the middle at center for Grant Martin. He drifts it off the Baltimore backboards. Covering the Karen behind the goal is Therrien. Along the right wing boards for Blaisdell, back for Therrien in the circle. Surrounded by Miller and Martin, but Therrien curls back along the right boards for Blaisdell to center. Mike Blaisdell over the Binghamton line in the circle for Stevens. Poked off his stick by a sprawling Paul Cavallini, but it comes back to Stevens behind the goal. He's stapled to the boards by Cavallini, and the puck deflects and lands on the back of the net. No further play. 18:38 left. Second period. 2-1 Skipjacks. Face-off circle left of Demore in the Binghamton goal. Gary Sampson departing with what appeared to be a rather mean gash struck by a Mickey Vulcan rising rocket that originated from right point. Jim Magoo and Billy Gardner on the faceoff. The latter, the former Chicago Blackhawk and Hartford Whaler. Magoo and Gardner all ready to go. Won by Gardner all the way across to the right wing corner boards. Jim Thompson capers after it and collects it. His pass out of the goal, seized by Magoo, steered into the crease. Knocked away by the goaltender Demore. Controlled in front of the goal by Billy Gardner. Gardner at his own line. Now Magoo draped over his back. He's forced to leave it for Paul Cavallini. Cavallini on left wing at center, I think was struck. And I think they're going to lead her for some medical attention. From the faceoff, puck in behind the goal. The Jacks goal, controlled by Mike Rowe. Now Rowe at his own line. Rowe to center, fired it off the Binghamton backboard. It skips up the right side. Blaisdell couldn't get there. Cavallini did, and he drove it to the Baltimore line. Controlled by Charlesworth. He turned it over to Thompson, who overpowers Charlesworth into the corner. The two go sprawling, and Charlesworth lands on top of the puck with his back. No further play. The fan, I think, was creased across the forehead when Paul Cavallini, along the center red line on left wing across the way from us, tried to sail the puck along the boards into the Skipjack zone. It did reach the Skipjack zone, but the puck sailed over the glass, and I believe it struck a young lady who was in the front row right across the forehead. And from the faceoff, Kellen at the right point, the screen shot! Oh, that one deflected over the glass into the crowd. Tony Kellen from the right point pulled the trigger. I believe that shot may have struck the bottom of the net to the side of the net and deflect up and over the glass into the crowd. Gannett did not react until the last split instant. Whalers have been successful in distorting Gannett's view tonight from in front. Face-off outside the Skipjack line below us on their left wing. Lemieux and Martin. Won by Martin. All the way across to the left wing boards for John Mokasak. In front of his own bench at center. He drove it behind the goal. It eludes Charles. Or to Dahlquist, right circle. Britt shot. Dahlquist blocked it. Kellen's point shot. And Risling blocked it. The puck skips into the right corner. Vulcan is there to whip it around the boards. But there to seize it is Britt's. Britt's into the corner for Martin. He sweeps it across left point for John Mokasak. The shot, and the stick saved by Gannett. Rebound in the right corner. Vulcan to control it there. Mickey Vulcan hoists it up the boards. Then Carl Mokasak with his glove over the glass in the toward the crowd, gloved it back in before it landed. 2-1 Skipjacks. All ready to go over the faceoff. Lemieux and Gaume. Lemieux claimed it behind the goal for Norm Schmidt. Now Schmidt will start out on left wings, crisply at his own line for Risling. In the middle, gently at center for Lemieux. That was seized by Cavallini. His pass across to the Baltimore line was knocked back to center by Risling, who peeled back. Now Risling takes it away from Shaw at center. Gary Risling at the Binghamton line for Lemieux. That was disrupted by Dallas Gaume. Gaume steps it over the Baltimore line on right wing, across to the left point for Cavallini. Cavallini charges it along the boards, wrapped up by Mokasek, but he one-hands it side of the goal for Taylor, right in front for Gaume. Shot! Right on! Get it the save, rebound left wing boards. Terrian clears to center. Control by Shaw, right back over the line for Gaume. Left it on the right point for Bradshaw. He couldn't catch up with it. Gary Risling was there to pin it to the board. From the faceoff, the puck just wiggles into the Binghamton zone. Tony Kellen chased him beyond the goal by Scott Johnson, who spilled him. Puck is loose in the right corner for Mathiasen. Back to the right point for Charlesworth. The shot. DeMoore the save. The rebound right in front. Oh, Mathiasen couldn't control it as Johnson was cracked into the crossbar by Kellen. Back comes Binghamton. Miller's pass halted at the Baltimore line by Charlesworth. Now Todd Charlesworth on the right defense. At center, he was drummed to the ice by Hoffman, and Charlesworth is hurt, and there'll be a Binghamton penalty to Mike Hoffman. The Jacks have already lost one defenseman tonight. Charlesworth's mate on the defensive combo, Neil Bellin. Mike Hoffman need Todd Charlesworth, and we apologize. It hasn't been from lack of effort. We will continue to try to find out what's wrong with Neil Bellin. Charlesworth is trying to flex and walk it off behind the bench. It may only be a Charlie horse. Jacks have their first power play of the night. They have struck with 6 power play goals, 3 in each game in their 2 outings this week. Both victories, of course. From the faceoff at the Jacks line, Mokasek, the breakaway pass for Alain Lemieux, who had penetrated behind the defense, just beyond him, all the way behind the Binghamton goal. Tracked down there by Cavallini. Up the middle at center for Greg Britz. At the Baltimore line, checked by Terrian, and it doesn't matter as the Whalers are offside on left wing. No further play. 15:26 remaining for second period action. It's 2-1 Jacks. All the game scoring confined to the opening period. The Jacks striking twice in 4:24 after Binghamton had gained a 1-0 lead. Risling and Stevens, the Jacks goal makers tonight. Face-off outside the Jacks line. From the face-off, curling back for it. Center circle, Paul Cavallini. He just backhands down ice. Now Mickey Vulcan in a leisurely-like fashion to lasso it behind the goal. On the right wing boards for Mokasek. Mokasek at his own line. Left it for Vulcan. Across to the left boards for Terrian. All the way back behind the goal for Alain Lemieux. Jacks trying to organize. Now Lemieux in his own left circle, up on left wing at center for Terrian, and he eludes him to the Binghamton line. And Mark Machorik just strokes it down ice. The net is off. It's mooring. Briaco expressed a lot of relief and good fortune for the Jacks in that victory. From the faceoff, on left wing at center, Dahlquist tried to muscle it in over the Binghamton line. He was checked along the boards by Shaw, but controlled right wing boards by Blaisdell. In the corner for Stevens, centering for Magoo in front, and right there to knock it away was Martin to the Jacks line. Schmidt will control. Spinning past the check of Martin at center. Neil Schmidt crossing the Binghamton line. Into the right circle for Blaisdell. The shot! Right on! DeMoore closes the door, hugging that post on that short side. No further play. I think I said Neil Schmidt. I meant to say Norm Schmidt. My apologies to Norm Schmidt and his wife Heather. And to the Skipjacks fans for that matter. That's a terrible blunder. Faceoff will be circle left of DeMoore in the Binghamton goal. 27 seconds for the Jacks power play. 14-18 for the middle period. Jacks on top 2-1, though they've been limited to only 7 shots on goal thus far tonight. Lemieux and Martin were to face off. Lemieux won't be, though. It'll be Martin and Risling. Left of DeMoore. All ready to go. Waiting for the linesman. Sticks come down. Won by Risling. Nudging it to the right point for Vulcan. Along the boards for Mokasek. Checked by Sean for the left circle. Taylor clears to the Baltimore line. Vulcan retraces his steps. On left wing at center, across for Terrian, who drove it in behind the Binghamton goal. DeMoore swept it past Carl Mokasek along the left wing boards for John Mokasek, who sweeps it down ice. And the penalty to Hoffman will elapse as Vulcan rounds his own net. He slammed it off the left wing boards all the way down ice. Racing back to retrieve his Cavallini in pursuit. The Jacks, Carl Mokosak. Cavallini spilled in the corner by Risling. Risling tried to steal. Squeezed by Kellen. Mokosak is there behind the goal for Lemieux, but stepping in to intercede was Taylor. Now Mark Taylor at center for Grant Martin. Over the Baltimore line, right circle for Kellen. Leaving it for Martin, trailing. Martin slips in behind the goal. Try to center one in front. Swept away by Mokosak. Jacks break out. Lemieux explodes out of the pack on right wing at center over the Binghamton line, centering it all the way through to the corner boards for Risling, who couldn't catch up with it in front, but Kellen was there to ride him off. Back comes Binghamton. Mark Taylor on left wing at center, spun around by Schmidt, but trailing is Martin, venturing in over the Baltimore line. Grant Martin wheeling in front, toppled by Schmidt. Back come the Jacks. Mark Stevens on left wing at center, over the Binghamton line, into the corner. He pulls up and centered it, and Dahlquist couldn't get to the left point in time. And once he did and brought it into the Binghamton zone. She didn't know it at first she was cut. She was going to stay there. That's what it is. It's like a brushing blow. No. Back to the play. Magoo in the corner. Centered it through the crease. Stevens was spilled by Gaume, but contained in the right circle by Charlesworth. Poked off his stick as he was loading his gun by Shaw. All the way to center. Rowe turned it over to Thompson, but Thompson was muscled at the Baltimore line along the boards by Rowe. It comes back to center, and Brad Shaw whistled it in behind the Baltimore goal. Control by Charlesworth. His clearing pass knocked down to the right point by Thompson with a shot. Cadet the save. The rebound in front, and Druce fired it wide. The puck in front of the Baltimore goal. Finally recaptured by Blaisdell. Mike Blaisdell breaks out of the pack at center with the Binghamton line along the left wing boards for Magoo. Magoo tried to force a centering pass through in front, knocked down by Sean. Binghamton breaks back. Now Thompson in the middle at center for Gaume at the Baltimore line, right in front for Thompson, and Vulcan was there to interrupt. Mickey Vulcan around the backboards on left wing for Rowe. Rick Watt on right wing at center for Blaisdell, barging in over the Binghamton line. Blaisdell into the corner, centered it, and Stevens couldn't reach it. Back comes Binghamton. Billy Gardner swaggering his way to center over the Baltimore line. He steered it in on goal. Mark Miller streaked to the crease, and it was poked away by Gannett. Contained right circle by Kellen. Skated off by Mathiasen, and the Jacks are away. Stevens, a breakaway pass for Vulcan at center, and John Mokosak stepped in front at the last instant. Now Mokosak sends Tony Kellen in over the Baltimore line on left wing with the back. Cantor Gannett the save. Rebound right wing boards. Now Dahlquist across on left wing at center for Vulcan, storming in over the Binghamton line with a shot. Deflected over the glass into the crowd by Paul Campbell early tonight. Bellin did at 12-12 in the first period. Charlesworth does at 8:53 here in the second period. So the Jacks now are operating with a somewhat depleted defensive core. One complete combination of defensemen have been casualties here tonight. Face-off inside the Binghamton blue line. Johnson won it. He drove it in behind the goal. Bradshaw will cover. Now Shaw, the former Detroit Red Wings draft pick, up on left wing at his own line for Martin. Stolen at the line by Mathiasen, who came out of nowhere, shooting off the glove of DeMore over top of the net. Digging it out behind the goal, Scott Johnson. Now Johnson in the corner working on Shaw. Now Johnson into the corner, trying to leave it there for Mathiasen, but covering up was Grant Martin, and he sends it into the Jack zone. Norm Schmidt will cavort behind the goal to cradle it. Now Schmidt in front of his own goal on right wing at his own line for Phil Bourque. Beyond him to center. Controlled at center circle by Paul Cavallini. Now Cavallini whipped it in behind the Jacks goal. Gannett himself will control it in the left corner for Johnson. Up the boards at center for at his own line for Bourque, who just steers to center. Tony Kellen will control, wheeling across on left wing at center. The Whaler defenseman backhands behind the Jacks goal. Schmidt around the left wing boards for Bourque, and he eludes him to the line. Kellen contains on the right point, centering in front for Brits around Schmidt with a shot! Oh, big save, Gannett! No further play. Oh, Tony go right of Gannett. Jim Magoo for the Jacks, and Billy Gardner for Binghamton on the faceoff. All ready to go. Won by Magoo, collected behind the goal by Vulcan. Mickey Vulcan right in front of the goal up on right wing at center for Mike Blaisdell. Skated off by Druce, controlled at the Binghamton line by John Mokosak. Clearing to center. Vulcan from there shoots right on, caught by DeMore. Dropped it off behind the goal for Tony Kellen. Now Kellen loses the Magoo check. At his own line for Gardner. Back in the middle at center for Kellen. Hurrying in over the Baltimore line. Working on Mickey Volkin, who forced him wide into the right corner. Where Delco wraps him up assertively, but Dahlquist falls, trying to control it. It's nudged in front by Kellen for Thompson with a score. Jim Thompson, and Binghamton is tied at 2-2. The Jacks just did not. The game is tied at 2-2. Thompson from Kellen at 10:35. Jacks have been outshot 15-7 tonight, yet we're stalemated at 2-2. Thompson from Gardner and Kellen, it should be. Well, we'll see if they give us assist to Kellen. He's the one that forced it in the corner. From the face-off, puck into the left wing corner, Binghamton zone. Digging after it there is Greg Britz around the backboards on left wing for Hoffman, and Mike Hoffman sends it into the Jack zone. Norm Schmidt pulls up in the right circle. Up the middle at center for Stevens, beyond his outstretched stick, down ice, they'll negate icing. Shaw chased him beyond the goal by Magoo. Shaw left it in the opposite corner for Cavallini, but digging in after it is Stevens. Stevens was really sent crashing into the corner boards by Grant Martin. And there'll be a Binghamton interference penalty to Martin. In the Binghamton goal, DeMore has made only 5 saves tonight. It'll be Elaine Lemieux for the Jacks, Billy Gardner for the Whalers on the faceoff. It's a 2-all tie. Jim Thompson connecting moments ago at 10:35 to stalemate the issue for the Whalers. All ready to go on the faceoff. Lemieux won it. Top of the circle. Mokasek's pass stolen by Martin. Martin trying to break away at center over the Baltimore line. Shooting, and Carrion came across and deflected it harmlessly into the left wing corner. Controlled by Carl Mokasek, streaking to center over the Binghamton line. Mokasek storms into the corner behind the goal. Centered it. Blocked in front by Mark Taylor. Now Taylor glides gracefully up the left side at center over the Baltimore line. Waltzed to the boards by Terrian, who rode him off. Controlled by Risling in front of the goal for Lemieux. Now the count, dashing to center over the Binghamton line, pulling up on the left wing boards. Now Lemieux dishing in the corner for Mokasak. Right in front for Risling. The shot, a great save by DeMore. Rebound to the left wing boards. Britt spilled by Risling, but he gets back up and sends it down ice. Boy, Risling at the doorstep was robbed by DeMore. Puck in behind the goal. Controlled by Michelle Terrian. He'll engineer the power play rush at his own line to center. At the Binghamton line on right wing for Risling. He couldn't hold the pass, and it's flung down ice by Britz. Under a minute for the power play. Mickey Volkin strides in behind the goal, leaving it for Lemieux. Now the count, back in front of the goal for Volkin on left wing at his own line for Terrian. Michelle Terrian from center, sails it in behind the Binghamton goal. Hurrying back for it is John Mokasak. Crunched by Risling. Risling couldn't control, but covering in the left corner is Carl Mokasak. Behind the goal for Risling. Right in front for Lemieux, the shot right on! Oh, DeMore the save, and he smothers it at the left goal post. No further play. Boy, Risling injuries. Stevens won it to the right point. Volkin shoots. The save by DeMore with Stevens backing into him and tumbling over him. Back come the Whalers. Taylor to center over the Baltimore line. Left to right circle for Gardner. Bolting in front. Gardner fired, and that was high and wide. Gardner has the rebound in the left corner. Wrapped up by Volkin. Controlled at the Jacks line by Stevens. Mark Stevens breakaway pass for Bork. At the Binghamton line. Didn't make it through. Taylor disrupted that. Now Mark Taylor, cross ice on the left wing at center for Cavallini. Paul Cavallini sends it into the Baltimore zone as Martin is back on. Dwight Mathiasen curls back in front of his own goal. On right wing at center for Mark Stevens. Beyond him to the Binghamton line. And Tony Kellen just hoists it to the middle of the ice. Controlled by Dallas Gaume. Over the Baltimore line on the left wing. He centers it all the way through to the right boards for Cavallini. Top of the circle for Taylor, in the circle for Cavallini with a shot, and that was wide to the short side. Rebound comes up the Jacks right boards for Mathiasen. At his own line for Terrian. Michelle Terrian just lashes it down ice. Back to reach it for Binghamton is Mark Taylor. Jacks. Back to the play. Puck into the Binghamton right wing corner. Controlled by Dallas Gaume. Gaume just sends it down ice. They'll nullify icing. Norm Schmidt forced deep behind the goal. Around the right wing boards for Blaisdell. Jammed by John Mokasek, pinching him from the point to send it into the corner. Left side for Miller, overpowered by Dahlquist, who really rubbed him out. Dahlquist around the backboards into the left corner for Schmidt. Now Norm Schmidt at his own line. He's underway. He wheels on right wing at center. Into the Binghamton zone with the pass, but Scott Johnson was offside coming across on left wing for the Jacks. No further play. A break in the action. 5:30 left, second period. The Skipjacks 2, Binghamton 2. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Baltimore Skipjacks Hockey Network. .5:30 left, middle period, 2-all duel from the face-off of the Jacks line. Mickey Vulcan collects it on right wing at center. He sends it in behind the Binghamton goal. Covering is Shaw in front of Johnson. Bradshaw around the left boards for Cavallini, clearing to center. Vulcan controls at the Binghamton line for Scott Johnson. Johnson on the left wing, backhands behind the goal. Paul Cavallini is on it there. Cavallini at the backboard, sidesteps to check Magoo, dishing to the right corner for Shaw. Up the middle of his own line for Martin, forced to the boards by Dahlquist, pinching in from the point, but covering in front of the goal is Cavallini. Paul Cavallini at his own line, up the middle at center for Martin. He didn't expect it. It eludes him down ice. Dahlquist to reach it in the corner, jammed by Martin. It rolls in front, covering Johnson, jacks away. Now Scott Johnson on right wing at center, crossing the Binghamton line. He was forced to the boards by John Mokasek, but Johnson still drove it behind the goal. Kellen to cover. Now Tony Kellen at his own line on right wing at center. Brits jolted by Rowe, who steals. Up the boards for Magoo. Jim Magoo on left wing, drove it into the Binghamton left wing corner. Controlling Kellen. A diagonal lead on right wing at his own line for Brits. At center for John Mokasek. Zooming in over the Baltimore line. Swerving through the circle past Rowe. But it was jabbed off his stick at the doorstep by Gannett. Trailing though is Brits with a sharp angle shot. Gannett the save on the short side. Rebound behind the goal. Mike Rowe will control it this time. Rowe up on left wing for Lemieux. Across on the right defense for Terrien at his own line. Michelle Terrien to center at the Binghamton line. Fanned on the shot. It just dribbles harmlessly into the right corner. Covering up along the boards is Cavallini. He was smacked by Risling. Risling toppled and he's not getting up. Action is halted. Gary Risling smacked Paul Cavallini along the corner boards and he didn't get up. He's writhing in anguish. This is the third Skipjack player to be stricken tonight. And Tim Ringler is working overtime. Went for the Jack zone and just sailed over the glass and struck her across the forehead. So they're dropping like 10 pins here tonight, Saturday Night Hockey in Baltimore. From the faceoff. At center circle, Stevens will just guide it into the Binghamton right wing corner. Cavallini comes across the control in front of Magoo. He left it right there in the corner for Shaw. Along the boards for Thompson. Up the boards at his own line for Martin. Graham Martin at center, snapped it in on goal. Gannett scoops it up for Schmidt, rounding the net. Now Norm Schmidt slams on the brakes to avoid the check of Taylor as he was surrounded by Taylor and Martin. He loses both of them. The breakaway pass from Magoo at center. He tears after it into the Binghamton left wing corner. Jim Magoo directs it behind the goal for Blaisdell. He didn't expect it. He was breaking for the front of the net, but Schmidt barrels in from the point to control it. Behind the goal for Teven to the left point where Dahlquist pinching in. He left it at the line for Blaisdell in the corner for Magoo. Now Magoo entangled by Shaw, but dug out behind the goal by Stevens, rolling it to the crease. DeMoore to smother it with Jim Magoo there. Hoping for a rebound opportunity for the Jacks, but there were two Binghamton players on the scene. Jim Thompson, along with for Binghamton on the faceoff. Circle right of the goaltender, Mark DeMoore. All ready to go, waiting for the linesman as Lemieux is centering Bork and Mathiasen. From the face-off, it skipped right across in front of the goal. Mathiasen couldn't collect that one, and it's fired down ice by Hoffman. They'll nullify icing. Mickey Vulcan from behind his own goal to operate. Up the middle at his own line for Mathiasen. Dwight Mathiasen leading on left wing at center for Bork. He just launched it in off the left wing corner boards of Binghamton. John Mokasek cleared it outside the line. Mickey Vulcan was late on the arrival at the right point. And second period, Gary Risling is on the bench, but he's injured. From the faceoff, the puck comes across to the Binghamton right wing boards inside the line. Kellen right on his own line for Druce. John Druce in the middle at center for Gardner. His pass knocked back into the Binghamton zone by Michelle Therrien, who was forcing the issue high. Covering is Gardner, retrieving in front of the goal. Up on right wing at center for Druce, back for Gardner, reaching the Baltimore line, skidded off by Mathias, and it skids in behind the goal. Vulcan leaves for Therrien. Up the left boards at his own line for Phil Bourque. Now Bourque winding it up at center, falls as he was checked by Gardner, collected at the Binghamton line by Druce. Druce to center, thumped by Vulcan, controlled by Mathiasen. Mathiasen, though, was in a crowd, and he was skidded off by Kellen and Mokosak, and Tony Kellen just sails it down ice. Vulcan to reach it behind the jack. Lemieux on the face-off left point. Dahlquist fired just wide of the short side. Rebound along the right wing boards. They tangle there truculently forward, and finally it was Gaume to clear to center. Jim Magoo on left wing. Rifles it around the Binghamton backboard to the right side for Mokosak. Now Carl Mokosak side of the goal for Magoo. Magoo darting across into the corner, squeezed there by Cavallini, but he kicked it behind the goal for Lemieux. Lemieux was waltzed into the boards by Shaw, contained left point by Dahlquist pinching in. He sends it into the corner. Shaw is there, clearing to the line. Carl Mokosak races back to control. He drove it in front of the goal, but Bradshaw was there on left wing at center for Gaume. At the Baltimore line for Grant Martin, forearmed lustily by Carl Mokosak, and back at center zone, Bradshaw returns it behind the Jacks goal. Coming up to 1 minute left. Schmidt behind the goal on right wing for Mokosak. His cross-ice pass seized at the line by Britz. Along the right wing boards for Billy Gardner, wrapped up by Schmidt. And Chris Dahlquist sweeps it into the Binghamton zone. Tearing after to John Mokosak. His pass stolen right circle by Lemieux with a shot to more the save. Lemieux with the rebound in front, fired it wide. The puck behind the goal, then John Mokosak is there to beat his brother Carl to it. And he clears to center. Micro on left wing returns it behind the Binghamton goal. Half minute for the period. Tony Kellen will collect it on the Binghamton defense. Across diagonally on right wing at his own line for John Mokosak, lugging it to center and sending it in behind the Skipjack goal. It takes a strange hop off the corner boards, but covering the Kerem Johnson. Left it on the left boards for Rowe. Mike Rowe at his own line. Rowe to center to flutter it into the Binghamton left corner. Charging after it, Johnson and Blaisdell. Now worked loose along the boards by Johnson, right side. Johnson tried to center it. That one marshmallowed. Blocked by Hoffman, who clears to center. Therrien whips it back into the Binghamton zone on right wing for the Jacks at the horn, signaling the conclusion of the second period. Look across at the Baltimore bench. We'll try to update. Charlesworth, Belden, and now Risling apparently are through for the night with that big game coming up tomorrow in Hershey. But this is a bigger one at the moment. We're deadlocked at 2-2 for third period action. From the faceoff, Jacks control their own line. Mickey Vulcan on the right defense just sends it up the boards. Paul Cavallini shoots it right back in behind the Baltimore goal. Now controlled by Dahlquist. Chris Dahlquist pass knocked right back in behind the goal by Martin from the right boards. Vulcan is on it there. Now Mickey Vulcan up on right wing for Dahlquist again at his own line. Dahlquist just sweeps it down ice. They'll nullify icing though. Mark Taylor hurries after it behind the goal, and his clearing pass along the boards for Miller. Miller jammed by Blaisdell, who poked it back behind the goal, chases after with Cavallini, who rode him off. Controlled in the right circle by Martin. Now Grant Martin for the Whalers. On left wing at center for Miller, reaching the Baltimore line with a shot right on. Stick save Gannett. Rebound to the left boards for a twisting and turning Chris Dahlquist. Forced deep behind the goal by Taylor. Taylor tripped him. And there'll be a Binghamton tripping penalty to them. All right, we'll have to check it. We have Gary Risling with a knee injury, Todd Charlesworth with a knee injury, and Neil Belvin with a shoulder injury. That has to be the other way around there. We'll try to update that again for you. Mark Taylor, 2 minutes for tripping for Binghamton at 49 seconds. We have Neil Belvin and Gary Risling and Todd Charlesworth, and apparently all three are through for the night. So the Jacks have run into a rash of injuries here tonight against this Binghamton team. The Whalers lost Gary Sampson with a ugly cut when he was struck by a Mickey Vulcan point shot. Vulcan from the right point drove a shot, and it caught Sampson right in the face, and he has not returned anymore. Faceoff will be inside the Binghamton blue line below us on the Jacks right wing. We've played 1 minute of the third period, excuse me. Jacks have power play time. And the game is tied at 2-2. Lemieux and Gardner on the faceoff, and they're having all sorts of problems lining up properly. Still waiting. One by Gardner, dragged it through the legs of Lemieux and then back in front of his own goal for Kellen. Tony Kellen to center. He'll curl all the way back inside his own line with it. Now Kellen being shadowed by Bork, dogged by Lemieux, flings it across on the right wing boards at his own line for Britz, and Greg Britz to send it down ice. Now Mickey Vulcan from behind his own goal. Vulcan at his own line, on right wing at center for Mokasak. His pass across the left wing for Bork at the Binghamton line was terribly weak, sent to center by Kellen. Jacks terribly disorganized on this power play. Now Mickey Vulcan, center circle for Lemieux. At the Binghamton line on the left wing boards for Bork. Checked by Sean from the right board, that's swept down ice by Gardner. Gannett in his own circle. Across for Vulcan. Vulcan's pass right back to Gannett. Gannett just drove it around the boards on the left side for Mokasak. Now Carl Mokasak in the middle at center for Mickey Vulcan. Steaming in over the Binghamton line. Left it on the right point for Lemieux. The shot blocked in front by Shaw. Was drummed to the ice from behind by Carl Mokasak as he cleared to the Baltimore line. Terrian's pass right on the stick of Hoffman. Hoffman feeds Martin over the Baltimore line. Graham Martin spins off the check of Terrian into the corner, but he's met there by Lemieux. 27 seconds for a power play that has really snoozed. Now Phil Bork at his own line. On right wing at center, backhanding behind the Binghamton goal. Dumour sets it up for Paul Cavallini. Cavallini cleared to the line, blocked by Vulcan, right in front for Lemieux. It jumped off his stick, but Lemieux centered it right in front. Bork shot, a great save by Dumour. Rebound left point, Vulcan to the crease for Lemieux, and it's skidded off his stick into the corner, and it's fired to the Baltimore line by Hoffman. Control by Bork at the Binghamton line on the left wing with a high drive, and Dumour brought it down as the penalty is over. Now Shaw in front of the goal. On left wing at his own line for Hoffman. Mike Hoffman from his own side of center drove it down ice. Gannett is forced to play it away from Mark Taylor at the backboards, nullifying icing. Taylor muscled the backboards by Dahlquist, coming out with it is Stevens. Mark Stevens at his own line on right wing for Blaze, or for Matthias at center behind him down ice, and Mokasak to touch it behind the goal. And they're too long to sound the whistle, so let's have a face-off at center ice. Good grief. Oh, they dropped the puck, and Stevens never had a stick on the ice. Now John Mokasak at his own line on the Binghamton defense. On left wing at center, propelling it behind the goal. Gannett himself knifed it around the right boards for Mathiasen. Mathiasen just clears to center. Kellen controlled on the left side for John Mokasak. Up the boards at center for Taylor over the Baltimore line for Dallas Gomey. Tried to burst in front. The backhander kicked out by Gannett with rapier-like fashion and cleared to center by Stevens for the right boards. Controlled by Shaw. He poked it into the Baltimore zone. Schmidt controls on right wing at center for Stevens. Over the Binghamton line. Stevens swooping in behind the goal. Working on Shaw, who rode him off. The puck contained at the left point by Rowe with a shot. Blocked in front by Tony Kellen. Backhanding to center. Norm Schmidt sends it back into the Binghamton zone. Shaw chased him behind the goal by Magoo. Bradshaw to the right boards for Kellen. Up the boards at his own line for Mike Miller. At center for Gone, beyond him to the Baltimore line. Controlled by Tyrion on the left side. Breakaway pass for Magoo behind the defense of the Binghamton line. But Jim Magoo is offside in the... All ready to go. From the faceoff. At right wing, center zone, Mark Vachorik drove it in behind the Jacks goal. Covering up there for the Jacks is Michelle Tyrion. Up the right boards at his own line for Johnson, steering to the Binghamton zone. Bradshaw falls along the boards, charging behind him forward in the corners. Blaisdell to the right point for Tyrion, left point for Rowe. The shot, Dumour the save. The rebound rolls through the crease, and Dumour smothers it. There's going to be a penalty coming up, though. And I think it's to the Skipjacks. Inside the Binghamton line, across the way from us on the Jacks left wing. From the faceoff, controlled at the Binghamton line by Bradshaw on the left side. Now Shaw at center for Cavallini. In the middle for Miller. Now Mike Miller over the Baltimore line along the right wing boards. He pulls up. Miller holds on the hash mark. Now Miller working on Stevens. Center point for Cavallini. The shot blocked in front by Schmidt, who had his back turned. Comes back to Cavallini on the right point. Edge of the right circle for Taylor. Center point for Cavallini. Directing it left boards for Shaw. Center point for Cavallini. The shot, Gannett, the save. The rebound skids to the backboards. Norm Schmidt winds it around the boards. Shaw contains left point along the boards for Miller. Now Mike Miller on the hash mark, holds. Working on Stevens again to the left point for Shaw. In the circle for Miller. The shot is wide. The rebound caroms off the Jacks left corner boards all the way down ice. Coming up to 1 minute for the power play and 14-13 for regulation. It's a 2-all tie. Now Bradshaw in front of the goal line, left wing at his own line for Gaume. Dallas Gaume hurrying to center over the Baltimore line. Right circle for Miller with a shot. Kicked out by Gannett. Rebound to the right point. Cavallini fired. Great save, Gannett. The rebound in the crease. Score. John Druce. Power play goal. Binghamton takes the lead 3-2. Boy, Steve Gannett pulled off the 2-0 Skipjack shutout to end Binghamton's 7-game winning streak here a week ago Wednesday night. The only interruption in the Whalers' dominance here at the Baltimore Arena. Druce from Cavallini and Miller at 6:02 power play goal. Druce 9th and a third of those against the Jacks. Now Tony Kellett in front of the goal. Leading on right wing at center for Jim Thompson, spinning off the check of Dahlquist over the Baltimore line, but Vulcan rushed across and rode him off. Puck into the corner. Digging it out though is Gardner. He centered it right through the crease, all the way through to the left boards for Thompson, poking it behind the goal, but Dahlquist is there to recover it. Chris Dahlquist around the left wing boards for Magoo. Jim Magoo at his own line. Cross ice on the right defense for Vulcan. Vulcan just drifts it to the Binghamton line. The Jacks just aren't skating this period. Puck along the Binghamton left wing boards. Carl Mokasek muscles his brother John in the corner. But Binghamton will break out anyway. Tony Kellett on right wing at center. Rolled it into the Baltimore zone. Jim Magoo will send it around the backboards up on right wing for Mokasek. Clearing to the line. Cavallini shot right on. Oh, Gannett flashed the pad out at the last second and he'll smother it. No further play. A break in the action. 13 minutes left. It's Binghamton 3, the Jacks 2 on the Skipjacks Hockey Network. Any attendance tonight? Nothing. Just no information at all again tonight. Damn it anyway. I don't know. I don't know. They just abandoned us here. Pretty fed up with it. Now from the face-off, Jacks controlled their own line. Mark Stevens colliding with Miller, who tumbled, but he poked it ahead on left wing at center for Bork, who high steps it in over the Binghamton line, but Cavallini dashed across and rode him off along the boards. They tangle for it there. Now Mathiasen sees the top of the left circle, firing. Had saved Demore. Rebound to the left boards for Britz. Now Greg Britz at center, spun around by Mathiasen as he delivered it in behind the goal. Gannett poked it into the right corner for Schmidt, up the boards for Mathiasen. Dwight Mathiasen at his own line, leading in the middle at center for Stevens. Oh, the Binghamton line for Bork. He's through the defense, right in on goal. Bork fired into Demore. A great save. Rebound to the left point, and Rowe failed to hold it in right through the wickets to center zone. Rowe has to retrieve there. He floats it in behind the Binghamton goal. Boy, Bork just barged in on left wing. Covering behind the goal, Shaw around the left wing boards for John Mokasek. The breakaway pass at center for Mark Taylor, zooming in over the Baltimore line. Forced wide into the corner by Rowe. Really rocked him. Covering behind the goal for the Jacks is Schmidt. Leading across on right wing at his own line for Mathiasen, just clearing the zone. Druce rolls it back into the skipjack zone. Mike Rowe to control. Rowe at his own line, thumped by Taylor along the boards. They jostle for it there vigorously. Pried loose by Stevens. Jacks away. A breakaway pass from Mathiasen at center, didn't make it through. Knocked down by Druce. Now John Druce at his own line. Drifts it into the Baltimore zone. Dahlquist clears to center. Mark Taylor at the Baltimore line on right wing for Dallas. Gaume. Now Gaume in the circle for Taylor, to the crease for Druce. He deflected it wide. He was actually behind Gannett. The rebound in the crease, and Gannett smothers it. No further play. A break in the action. 11-12 left. Binghamton 3. The 7-0. Now from the faceoff. Puck behind the skipjack goal. Corralled by Chris Dahlquist up on left wing in his own line for Johnson. Scott Johnson through center, drove it in behind the Binghamton goal, digging in after it is Hoffman in pursuit is Blaisdell, who waltzed him into the backboards. With Hoffman tumbling, he tried to nudge it up the boards, but Johnson is there to the left point for Dahlquist, and he fanned on it. Back comes Binghamton. Billy Gardner springs to center at the Baltimore line. On right wing for Thompson, coming all the way across to the left boards. Thompson back across to the right point for Kellen, stolen by Blaisdell. Wrapping in over the Binghamton line. Blaisdell on the left wing boards for Johnson, trailing. Wrapped up there by Kellen, and Binghamton will start out. Billy Gardner on right wing at center, hops in over the Baltimore line, centering it. Thompson fired, stick to side by Gannett to the corner, where Rose steers it up the left boards for Johnson. In the middle at center for Lemieux over the Binghamton line on right wing for Blaisdell. Blaisdell was pinned to the boards by Mokasak. He drove it in behind the goal nonetheless, and covering in the right corner, Thompson clearing to the line. Blaisdell halts at center point, drove it in behind the goal. Shaw in front of Lemieux, drove it around the boards. Blaisdell halts that one. He centered it right in front. Delco was checked by Thompson, sprawling into the crease. Dug out in the Binghamton left corner by Shaw. Up the boards at center for Hoffman, working at Schmidt at the Baltimore line. And Norm Schmidt rode him off. Scraped off the backboards behind the Jacks goal by Rowe. 9:49 left. Rose pass aimlessly to an open wing at center. John Mokasak just fires it down ice. Hurrying after it behind the goal is Mike Rowe. Icing charge against the way. Jacks have not been heard from since Mark Teven scored at 15:42 of the opening period to gain a 2-1 lead. Binghamton has allowed the fewest goals against in the league. Jacks lost Gary Risling, Neil Bellin, and Todd Charlesworth, all to injuries tonight. Gary Risling is the lone skipjack to have played in every game this season. That may be in jeopardy now with tomorrow afternoon's bout at Hershey. Now Mickey Vulcan at his own line. Up the boards on right wing at center for Magoo. That was disrupted by Grant Martin, who stepped in along the boards, and he just sailed it into the Baltimore zone. Covering in the left corner is Delco. Now John Delco in the middle at center for Magoo, leading for Carl Mokasak, crossing the Binghamton line. Beyond him, behind the goal, Cavallini was forearmed lustily by Carl Mokasak. It's loose in the corner. Mike Miller sends it around the backboards. Up on Binghamton's left wing for Britz at his own line, opening up his stride to center over the Baltimore line. Left circle for Martin, and he whiffed on the shot. Lots of breeze there. Back come the Jacks, 3-on-2. Vulcan at center for Magoo, jitterbugging in over the Binghamton line. Left circle for Delco, right in front for Vulcan, who was storming through the crease. And it was deflected over the glass into the crowd by Greg Britz, who matched Mickey Vulcan stride for stride and is back checking. No further play. A break in the action, 8:47 left. Binghamton 3, the Skipjacks 2 on the Skipjacks hockey. Now from the faceoff, puck all the way back into the Jack zone. Phil Bork will curl back behind the goal to collect it. Now Bork's pass beyond Stevens at center zone. Tony Kellen to control it, and he sends the puck just bounding in behind the goal. Mike Rowe to control with 8:25 left. Now Rowe up the middle at his own line for Stevens on left wing at center for Bork. Skidded off by Taylor, comes back to Stevens. Now Stevens pass, sees at the Binghamton line by Kellen. Kellen at center for Gaume at the Baltimore line, right wing for Taylor, broken up by Rowe, just drove it to center zone, right on the stick of Drews. Drews tried to venture into the Baltimore line, thumped by Mathiasen, rolled into the Binghamton zone by Stevens. Cavallini chased him behind the goal by Mathiasen. Now Mathiasen steals left circle right in front for Stevens, swept away by Drews. Stevens into the corner, spilled by Drews, the two go down. The puck in front of the Binghamton goal, and Dallas Gaume sends it down ice. Now Gannett headmans it at his own line for Michel Therrien on right wing at center for Stevens. Over the Binghamton line around Shaw, right in on goal, he shoots! Oh, Stevens ringing it off the post as he was sprawling in front of the crease, and it's swept down ice by Cavallini. Oh, that was exciting. The puck all the way to the Baltimore right corner for Vulcan. In front of the goal for Therrien, leaving it there for Lemieux. Gardner forechecking tenaciously. Lemieux turns it over to Hoffman at the left wing boards. Mike Hoffman, sharp angle, shot right on. Gannett nabbed that one. Rebound controlled in the right circle by Vulcan. In the middle at center for Lemieux. He shoots right on. DeMore the save it, nearly handcuffed him. Rebound into the right wing boards. Magoo dug it out, centered it all the way to the left point for Therrien. He was caught too deep, and he eludes him to center. He has to hurry back for it there. His pass was knocked down ice by Gardner. We have a Binghamton penalty coming up. Mickey Vulcan glides in behind his own goal. Gannett streaks for the bench. Now Vulcan at his own line. On right wing at center, just sends it in behind the Binghamton goal. John Mokasak to touch it there. and they trail 3-2. They once trailed themselves 1-0. They struck with 2 goals, 4:24 apart in the opening period to make it a 2-1 Jacks lead before Jim Thompson tied it at 10:35 in the second period, and John Drew snapped the tie on a Binghamton power play at 6:02 here in the third period. Face-off right of Demore, Binghamton goal. Lemieux won it from Martin. Back to the left point for Terrien. Michel Terrien drove it in behind the goal, but covering is Shaw in front of Carl Mokasak. Shaw drove it around the boards, contained right point by Terrien, who came across after Volkin pinched in. But Terrien turned it over to Gardner, who fires it down ice. Dwight Mathiasen cavorts behind the goal to cradle it for the Jacks. Mathiasen across to the left boards for Lemieux. Jacks have been very slow reacting to the puck tonight. Lemieux for Terrien on left wing at center for Mathiasen across from Mokasak. Now Mokasak scampering in over the Binghamton line, swooping in behind the goal, pulling up in the corner. He centered it. And there were 2 players surrounding Lemieux in front, Taylor and Martin, and it skidded through him to center. Mickey Volkin controls. He sailed it in on goal. Demore brought it down high, left it right side of the goal for Shaw, clearing to the line. Contained by Terrien. Now Terrien for Volkin, right point, backhanding behind the goal. Falling on it there for Binghamton is Paul Cavallini. It was Jim Thompson who received the penalty and not Cavallini as we originally reported. No further play. Jim Thompson received the tripping penalty at 13-16 and not Paul Cavallini. We misspoke. It was Cavallini who fell on top of the puck at the backboards behind the Binghamton goal. 1:04 for the power play, 5:48 for regulation, and the Jacks trail 3-2. Another 1-goal game for the Jacks. They've played 37 of those in their first 65 this season, sporting a 15-14-8 record. Entering tonight's game, 6 of the Skipjacks' 7 previous verdicts against Binghamton have been 1-goal decisions. Jacks are unbeaten in their last 3 starts against the Whalers. From the faceoff, Mokasak right boards. Back to the right point for Volkin. Back to the boards for Mokasak. Mokasak checked by his brother John, but he gets it back again. Right boards for Lemieux. Right point for Volkin. It snaked past him to center. Norm Schmidt will control it on left wing, snapping it in behind the Binghamton goal. Demore sets it up for John Mokasak, rocketing it around the boards, contained on the right point by Volkin. In the circle for Lemieux, right side. Now Lemieux holds back to the right point for Volkin, and the net is lifted from its moorings, and the referee, Paul Stewart, is accusing and penalizing the goaltender Demore for Livermore. Penalty now must be served. The Binghamton penalty box door, but it's been immobilized tonight. Lemieux and Gardner on the faceoff. Won by Gardner. Behind the goal, digging in after it is Terrien, pinching in from the point, left wing boards. Now Terrien, top of the circle, was checked by a sprawling Paul Cavallini, who'll just plop himself on top of the puck. No further play. Still 25 seconds for the 2-man advantage. 5:09 for regulation. 3-2 Binghamton. Face-off, rim of the circle. Right of Demore. Whaler goal. Lemieux for the Jacks. Martin for the Whalers. 2 crusty veterans. Won by Martin, clearing to the line, but Volkin collects it on the right point. Into the corner for Mokasak. Checked by Shaw up the left boards for Cavallini. Clearing it off. Volkin stick at the right point to center. Volkin will control it there. Mickey Volkin steps it over the Binghamton line along the right boards for Mokasak. Mokasak overpowers Cavallini, but it's covered behind the goal by Shaw. Shaw along the left wing boards, checked by Terrien, pinching in into the corner for Mathiasen behind the goal for Lemieux. The centering pass for Carl Mokasak in front didn't make it through. Cavallini knocks it away. Thompson is back on. The Jacks have a 1-man advantage for 1:14. Mickey Volkin inside his own line, checked by Thompson, who deflects the pass over the glass into the crowd. Face-off outside the Jacks line. 1:12 for the power play, 4:29 for regulation. Now Alain Lemieux at his own line in the middle at center for Blaisdell. On left wing for Magoo at the Binghamton line. Too far, but trailing Schmidt on right wing. Norm Schmidt at center, drove it behind the Binghamton goal. Tony Kellen just flings it over the glass into the crowd, deep in the Whaler right corner. No further play. 55 seconds for the power play. 4:13 for regulation. The Jacks with 5 power play opportunities in these last 2 periods. They had the only 2 power plays in the second period, and they've had 3 to the Whalers, 1 in this third period, but that's all the Whalers needed The Whalers capitalized on their sole power play of this period and only their second of the night, and that's the difference as they fractured the 2-2 tie. Binghamton 1 for 2 on the power play. Jacks have not responded in this, their 5th chance. Lemieux and Martin on the faceoff, right of the goaltender, Mark Demore. One by Lemieux to the left point for Schmidt. Schmidt drove it into the right corner, scurrying after it is Magoo. Magoo was checked along the boards by Kellen McConteen, right point by Teven, center point for Schmidt. Schmidt steers along the boards for Lemieux. Behind the goal for Blaisdell. Blaisdell's pass right through the legs of Magoo into the corner. Stevens pinches in from the point side of the goal for Lemieux. Centering in front for Blaisdell. Checked by Martin. Contained left point by Schmidt. Center point for Stevens. In the circle left side for Blaisdell. Checked by Kellen. Dug out in the right corner by John Mokosak. Clearing to the line. Schmidt knocks it down left point. Now Schmidt was bumped along the boards by John Mokosak, and it's rolled down ice by Gardner. 12 seconds for the power play. Stevens at his own line on right wing at center for Magoo. Over the Binghamton line for Blaisdell. Stripped off his stick by Shaw. And Brad Shaw wrapped it off the boards to center. The second penalty is over. Control at the Binghamton line by Brad Shaw. Shaw just drifts it to center, knocked down by Rowe. Mike Rowe on left wing. Just lifts it in front of the Binghamton goal, covering Cavallini. Up the right boards at center for Hoffman, sweeping it inside the Baltimore line. Schmidt in front of the goal. For Magoo, back for Schmidt, still at the Jacks line. Now Schmidt wheels across on left wing at center. Hounded and harried from behind by Britz, but he still manages to backhand behind the goal. Cavallini jolted by Magoo. They tangle there. Cavallini cracked down in the corner by Stevens, who steals. Now Stevens trying to slip inside of the goal for Magoo. Magoo was checked by Taylor. Taylor in front of the goal for Sean. Binghamton will break out. Now Brad Shaw to center at the Baltimore line for Mike Hoffman. Hoffman pulls up at the left point. Drove it in behind the goal for Taylor. He tried to center it to the left wing boards for John Mokosak, pinching in from the point. Mokosak storms in behind the goal with a centering pass. Schmidt knocked it back into the corner where he's pinned by Taylor, converged down by Britz. They tangle truculently. It squirts up the right boards. Mathiasen couldn't catch up with it. Thompson comes across to control it. Thompson in the left circle for Britz. Checked by Mathiasen, but Britz maintains control. Wheeling across to the right circle to the side of the goal. He was crunched into the backboards by Rowe, and the Jacks will finally start out. Mark Stevens at his own line in the middle at center for Mokosak, trying to break away. He charges after it in the Binghamton right corner. Mokosak along the board, stripped of the puck by Jim Thompson, who snaps it down ice. Racing to retrieve behind the Skipjack goal, Michelle Terry, and Binghamton charged with icing a break in the action. 1:46 left. Binghamton 3, the Skipjacks 2 on the Skipjacks Hockey Network. Baltimore Arena, 1:46 for regulation. It's 3-2 Whalers. Grant Martin at his own line. He'll spring out of the pack on right wing at center. Backhanding behind the Jacks goal. Mickey Vulcan around the right wing boards for Blaisdell. Back in the corner for Vulcan. A diagonal lead on left wing at center for Bork. He was muscled by Shaw. Boy, that was really a classic case of interference that was left unacknowledged. At center zone, Blaisdell chased back to his own line by Druce. Up the right boards for Terrian. Checked at his tracks at center zone by Gardner. Gardner spun around by Terrian, seized at center circle by Phil Bork, rocketing it in behind the Binghamton goal. Gannett trying to get to the bench for the 6th attacker. A puck to the blue line. Vulcan contains on the right point. Right in front for Bork with a shot. That one stung as it was blocked by Shaw with a minute left. Gannett's on the bench. Hoffman has an empty net, and from center he fired it wide. Covering behind the goal, that's Mokosak. 6 attackers for the Jacks. Carl Mokosak at his own line for Lemieux. On right wing, Lemieux sailed it in behind the Binghamton goal. Charging after this Mokosak. Behind the defense at the backboards. He tangles for it with Kellen. Bork and Blaisdell are there too to surround Kellen and lock it up. No further play, but the Jacks have succeeded in a face-off deep in Binghamton territory. And I believe Jacks coach Gino Briaco will spend his 32nd timeout, beaten in their last 3 starts against Binghamton. But the Whalers have been superb here in Baltimore. The attendance tonight, 4,168. Excellent crowd, 4,168. Lemieux and Martin on the faceoff. Won by Grant Martin. Tony Kellen deep in the corner. Whipped it to the line. Tyrion contains right point. Right in front for Mokosak. Stripped off his stick by John Mokosak at center for Martin behind the defense. And Martin rolled it wide with 26 seconds left. Mathiasen in the right corner just drove it to center. John Mokasek on left wing sends it back into the Baltimore left corner. 18 seconds left. Now Mathiasen across in front of the goal on the right boards for carrying up the boards at center for Blaisdell. He drove out the Binghamton backboards at Cairn to the left wing boards for Bork. Behind the goal for Mathiasen. Mathiasen centering pass at the back of the net. 4 seconds left and Binghamton's going to win it. The horn sounds, the game is over. And the Binghamton Whalers come back into Baltimore tonight and really damage the Jacks' playoff